Hi everyone, it's Phil here from Ashland Leather. Happy Halloween! Today I'm going to show you a preview of some of our private stock Halloween inspired wallets that we'll be releasing this Friday on our private stock page. So everything you're about to see in the video will go live this Friday, October 28th at 12 p.m. noon Central Time. So in today's video, we've got a bunch of really unique Halloween inspired wallets, including some wallets from The Shining. I also have some shell cordovan baseballs and a bunch of very unique shell cordovan finishes on a few different wallet styles. So let's start off first here with some wallets that are inspired by the movie The Shining. Take a look at this first one here. This is inspired by the carpet in the hotel, and I really love how this tall fat Herbie turned out. Stanley Kubrick came up with some pretty interesting visual concepts in his interpretation of The Shining, and we thought that the carpet was a really fun theme to play off of, so we cut out some English tan Dublin along with London Bus red Essex leather and placed all that on top of some black Essex for the outside. On the inside we have more London Bus red Essex as well as English tan Dublin in the center. Here's another very fun wallet inspired by room 237, the bathroom from that hotel room. If you look at the scene of the movie in the center here, this is where the bathtub is, and then there's archways and doorways on the sides, and that's what the inspiration for this wallet was, and I think it turned out great. So on this wallet, we have 3 different leathers and different colors. We have Kelly green latigo in the center, some natural latigo, all sitting on top of yellow latigo underneath. And this wallet is made on the tall Herbie pattern. So you can see we've got this extended bill slot that goes all the way to the top. And we felt that the large context of the tall Herbie was just a better canvas to show off some more interesting art concepts. On the inside of this one, this is what I like most about this. We've carried those same color concepts of the bathroom of room 237 onto the inside. But my favorite part is actually the stitching in the center that represents the tile and grout in that bathroom floor. Up next here, we have another incredible looking wallet inspired by The Shining. This is from one of the most famous scenes in the movie where Jack Nicholson is typing on the typewriter. On the inside of this bill slot here, I'm going to try to open it up so you can see. This is the exact copy of what he typed on the typewriter in that scene. So it says, "All work, no play makes Jack a dull boy" on the outside. And then we've got the blood drips that represent some of the other scenes from the movie. And then on the inside, these lower 2 card slots, we also carry that same typewriter effect. And the last of the Shining wallets, check this one out here. This is really, really special. This is the hedge maze from The Shining, and this is a representation of the actual maze from the movie. So you can actually navigate this one all the way through from start to finish, and I think it turned out great. So we've got this green color leather. This is actually the reverse side of some black shell cordovan. We've got it lined with some black Dublin on the inside, and on the interior of this tall Herbie, we've got some reverse Western black that give you that sort of hedge look for the card holders on the left and right. We've got a laser etched key holder to represent the key for room 237 in the center, which might be hard to see, and then we have our gold foil stamp. So all 4 of these Shining inspired wallets are going to be up on the private stock page, and we're going to try something a little bit different for these 4 Shining wallets. We're going to put these up as an auction. Each of these pieces are very special, and we've never done them before, and I don't think we're ever going to do them again. So it'd be interesting to see what you guys think about this Shining inspired set of wallets. All right, next up, this is not a Shining inspired wallet, but it is very unique and very different. Miranda in our shop here, extremely talented and very creative, came up with this concept for a plaid wallet, and I love how this one turned out. So you can see there's all the different colors that make up the plaid effect, including some different color stitching on the outside as well as on the inside of this Bugs Moran wallet. All right, let's keep it moving into some more wallets here. We've got some fat Herbies. The first fat Herbie here, we have Western violet shell cordovan on top of some raw violet shell cordovan for the exterior, and on the inside we have a great Horween shell cordovan ink stamp right in the center, as well as more Western violet shell cordovan for the card holders. This one has a natural waxed and burnished edge. Next up, we have a piece of raw shell cordovan, and this is in the denim colors. We're calling this raw denim shell cordovan. If you're not familiar with this one, it's just like the denim blue shell cordovan, except it is not polished. So you get this really nice matte finish to it. It's got a little bit of a subtle sheen, but it is nowhere near as bright and shiny as a normal piece of shell cordovan. And the idea behind the raw shell cordovan is it gives you an opportunity to develop the patina unique to your own style. So it will become more bright and shiny just with normal use. And let's take a look at the inside of this fat Herbie, where we have some epic die dye splatter on some reverse shell cordovan. And up next, this is one of my favorite looks. This is inverted shell cordovan, and the color here is ultraviolet. So inverted ultraviolet shell cordovan sitting on top of some violet gator shell cordovan. And that's a really cool combination. If you're not familiar with inverted, this is very confusing, but essentially this is the shell side of the leather. We like the way that the drip marks look on the reverse side of the shell, like on this Fat Herbie, for example. But people wanted to see that randomized drip look on the shell side, the smooth side. The way that they're able to achieve that is they finish the leather backwards. So if you look underneath this, they actually finished it on the reverse side of the shell with that ultraviolet stain, and then left all the drip marks to hit on the shell side. So inverted shell, very confusing, but very cool. And on the left side here, this is actually the reverse side of that inverted ultraviolet shell cordovan. And here's a really fun color combination for Halloween. We've got violet lizard shell cordovan on top of reverse dip dyed amaretto shell on the top, and that's this orange color that you see here. This wallet is hand stitched with a black thread color as well as black hand stained edges. And here's a look at the inside of this Fat Herbie, where we have some hidden card slots also in that violet lizard shell cordovan. And the orange color here that you see on both of the card holders, this is the reverse dip dyed amaretto on the left and right, and in the center that's actually the shell side of the dip dyed amaretto. We've been calling this blood orange shell cordovan. And here's a first look at Kia shell cordovan with a western texture. And I love the way that this one turned out. Check out that really nice pale green shade with the western print on it. I think that's an exceptional look, and we have that sitting on top of some green shell cordovan. Here's a look at the inside where we have more western Kia shell cordovan and also a really nice Horween shell cordovan ink stamp in the center. This wallet also has hand-stained green edges. Here's another one in a western texture. This is reverse shell cordovan with that western texture. So it's put on the unintended side of the shell. If you look in the bill slot here, this is actually the shell side in here. And in the back middle piece here, we have the Horween USA measuring machine stamp. Here's a look at the inside where we have more of that same reverse western shell cordovan. And this piece turned out great. This is a double reverse Fat Herbie in garnet shell cordovan with epic splatter. So double reverse means that you get to see shell and reverse shell on the outside, as well as shell cordovan and reverse shell cordovan on the inside. And all these dye marks are the epic dye splatter that we call on the double reverse Fat Herbie here. This one is also hand stitched, and something I want to point out about this particular shell, there's something magical about the garnet shells, and I think this might be about the last of the ones that we have. Very, very nice shell here. It's very flat, smooth, and very even. And here's a look at the inside again. You can see the garnet shell cordovan on the inside center. It's a very dramatic color, and it has a dynamic color range to it. So some angles, more of those red tones come out, and other angles is a little bit darker and more brown. Now here's my favorite shell cordovan color. This is amaretto shell cordovan on top of denim blue gator shell cordovan. This wallet is also hand stitched with a blue thread that is very striking. And here's a look at the inside where we have more amaretto shell cordovan, and you can really see how dynamic this color is. A little bit darker at this angle, but as I tilt it just a little bit, you can see how much more vibrant and vivid the color is. Another interesting thing about this one, we have hand-stained blue edges and another piece in amaretto shell cordovan. This is a Fat Herbie amaretto shell cordovan on the outside. On the inside, we have one card holder that is amaretto shell cordovan with a gator texture. And then on the left side here, we've got a Horween USA measuring machine stamp on the reverse side of amaretto shell. Now here's some of the coolest dye splatter that I have ever seen. This is epic dye splatter on reverse cigar shell cordovan. And I love that way that this one was cut, where we get this darker color on the bottom, and as it comes up it gets a little bit lighter, and then we have these two horizontal stripes going across the back, which I think looks great. This one's also got a really nice sheen to it, even though it is reverse shell cordovan. Take a look at that luster. Here's a look at the inside. We have more epic dye splatter on reverse cigar shell cordovan, and this wallet is also hand stitched with a nice matching thread color. Here's another fun texture. We're dressing up the Fat Herbies for Halloween. This is the string texture on color 8 shell cordovan. And we don't see this texture very often, but it's really compelling. I really like the look of this one. So it's a very clean look too, because we have this same string texture on the outside, as well as that string printed color 8 shell on the inside. One last Fat Herbie to look at here. Check this out. This is reverse gator on ultraviolet shell cordovan. So I'll try to explain that again. We took ultraviolet shell cordovan with epic dye splatter, and they printed it on the shell side. The inside of the bill slot here is the side that they printed on. So what you're seeing here is actually the back side of the texture of that gator print. We've got all that sitting on top of some inverted shell cordovan in the middle piece here. This one also has inverted shell cordovan on the right with reverse inverted shell on the left. And last but not least, this wallet has hand-stained ultraviolet edges. All right, let's keep it going with some Johnny the Fox wallets. And some of these are finishes that I have never seen before, including this one here. I'm calling this the prototype finish on the Johnny the Fox. It's kind of like the psychedelic, except it's a little bit more linear than the psychedelic. And it's kind of got the same color range as the cigar shell cordovan, much less red and burgundy than color 8. Very cool look on this Johnny the Fox. And of course, we have that really bright, shiny luster of the shell. Here's a look at the interior where we have a reverse color 8. And up next, this is psychedelic shell cordovan. So you can see what I'm talking about with the difference here, why this one on the right is considered a prototype. This is something the tannery's trying out to get different looks. Here's the psychedelic though. We have more of these like circular patterns and layers of color. This is psychedelic cigar shell cordovan. We also have a very light spot on the bottom exterior right. Here's a look at the inside of this one, more reverse color 8 shell cordovan. And here's another trial that I don't know what to call. So I'm calling this haunted shell cordovan. It's got a really cool look, kind of like a combination of the psychedelic and that prototype, more linear look that we were just talking about. But this one has a little bit extra of a color range. This one has a little bit of extra color layered onto it. So if you look closely here, there's a little bit of that pale sort of green Kia color, and then darker, more burgundy on the bottom. We've got more lighter sort of natural shades in the center, and then it's got a little bit more purple burgundy on the outside left. Here's my favorite shell cordovan color, amaretto shell cordovan, and this specific piece is very dynamic. So at this angle, it looks almost like a color 4, sort of like a medium brown with some red. But as I turn it, more of these vibrant orangey tan colors come out, and that's really special. Usually they're not this dark at this angle, but I really like this piece of amaretto shell cordovan. So we combine this one also with a reverse interior. And here's a fun one for Halloween, epic dye splatter on reverse cigar shell cordovan. Really cool drip marks on the outside of this one, and on the inside, we have a combination of garnet shell cordovan on the left with some more epic dye splatter on the right. This wallet also has hand-stained burgundy edges. And here's a really, really fun piece with a lot of adjectives. So we've got Western texture on marbled green shell cordovan. Check out this wallet. This one photographed really nicely. I was actually admiring just how nice this wallet looks earlier today. Really cool color range here from that pale green, sort of forest green at some sections, and then down to that more orangey tan color. And the marbling of color with the Western texture on top of it is a really interesting look. I love the way that this one turned out. You should look at the inside. This is also a little bit different. We have a non-shell cordovan interior this time. This is actually brown nut Dublin. And speaking of brown nut Dublin, I have a Johnny the Fox here in 100% brown nut Dublin. So we've got that incredible grain character of the Dublin leather on the outside. You can see all that figuring and intense character of the grain. We also have a really nice stained edge that matches the grain color very well. And on the inside, more brown nut Dublin, although this is brown nut Dublin horsehide. Here's a great piece of shell. This is cigar shell cordovan, a shell cordovan fan favorite color. It's kind of similar to the color 8 shell, but does not have any of that sort of cherry red burgundy to it. It's more of just a straightforward brown color. And this particular shell is very, very, very nice. Very flat, smooth, and even very bright and shiny. Here's a look at the inside of this one. We have another great look. This is marbled blue shell cordovan on the inside of this Johnny the Fox. And we also have a nice lightly hand-stained edge. Now here's another great piece of shell. Epic natural shell cordovan. And again, we're talking about the dynamic color range of the shell. In the cordovan leather, there's really small itty bitty fibers that point in a certain direction, and depending on what angle you look at it, it might appear a little bit darker or a little bit lighter. So as you see, as I shift this one around and tilt it, it's much lighter at this angle and much darker at this angle. The other interesting thing about the epic texture is depending on what angle you look at it, this texture is more or less apparent, and it's really, really incredible. I love this epic natural shell. Just look at the inside. We have another reverse interior, and I have 3 blue Johnny the Foxes to cap off the Johnny the Fox offerings here. This first one here, inverted blue shell cordovan, also has a really great color range on this one. You can see a little bit darker at this angle, and I'll tilt it up for you. Much lighter and more aqua blue at that angle, which is really great. You can see on the outside of this wallet, we've got that teal stitching color, and that is hinting at the teal horsehide latigo on the inside of this wallet. And we also have hand-stained blue edges for this Johnny the Fox. Here's another one that's very similar, but this is marbled blue this time instead of inverted blue. Same great color look. We have that sort of aqua blue shade at this angle and a little bit darker at this angle. Really cool range of color from the aqua blue, darker blue, and then down to those lighter tan sort of natural colors. We also have that same teal color stitching all through the outside that hints at the interior, where we have the teal horsehide latigo on the inside. Also have hand-stained blue edges for this fox. And the last Johnny the Fox is another blue wallet. This time it's a 100% denim blue shell cordovan. Same deal here. A little bit darker at this angle, a little bit more of like a navy blue as it sits on the table. As I tilt it though, we can see a little bit of these lighter colors. A little bit more aqua blue at this angle. And here's a look at the inside of this denim blue shell cordovan Johnny the Fox. We have rare pieces of thin denim blue shell cordovan for the inside of this wallet. And it takes a lot of patience to get the thin pieces of leather that we require for the inside of this design. There's just so many layers of leather that if we pick the normal pieces of shell, the wallet bulks up way too much. So we have to be a little bit extra patient and wait for those rare shell colors and the rare thin thickness to make this design. And the edges, we also have that hand-stained blue edge. We've had a bunch of people asking for long wallets. We made 3 for this private stock event. On this one, we've got a really nice piece of color 8 shell cordovan. This is the classic shell cordovan color. Dark brown, burgundy shade. At some angles, more of these reddish cherry colors come through, a little bit more burgundy, and then other angles, a little bit of a darker brown. Very, very nice piece of shell here. And on the inside of this long wallet, we also have color 8 shell cordovan, but this has a lizard texture on it. And what I love most about the long wallet is that it's our largest pattern piece, which is great for showing off random drip marks like on this inverted blue shell cordovan here. The only issue with the long wallet is it's so large that sometimes it's hard for us to get shells that are large enough to cut out this pattern piece, but I love to see it on this thing here. Really cool piece of inverted blue shell where we get to see all those drip marks, and there's something special about that extra large context. We also have a couple pieces on the inside here with some inverted blue. So if you look down on the top of the card holders, those are also inverted blue shell cordovan. And on top of the inverted blue, we have some magenta shell cordovan with a lizard texture. And speaking of large context, check this out. Epic natural shell cordovan again, but this time on the long wallet, so we get extra large context to see all that really interesting figuring of the shell here. Really cool look on this piece. And I wish you could see this one in person. It's really, really striking in person because as you spin it around and tilt it, this texture is more and less apparent. It's very interesting. It's kind of confusing to look at. And here's a look at the inside of this long wallet. We have Western cigar shell cordovan. And we made some 20mm Nato straps for the Halloween private stock event. So Halloween that you can see on the strap here. This is also that same leather we were looking at earlier, dip dyed amaretto shell cordovan, and this is the reverse side of that dip dyed. The part that will touch your wrist on this 20mm Nato strap is actually the shell side of the leather, and this one is made with black stitching and black hardware. Here's another great Nato strap with black stitching and black hardware. This is all blacked out. So we've got black shell cordovan for the leather, and it is all blacked out, like I said, with black hardware and black thread. Here's another one in black shell cordovan, but you can see that contrasting orange stitch, which turns out really great. If you have an orange watch face, I think this one will go very nicely with that. And last but not least, this is a pretty special piece for me to see. This is Kia green shell cordovan, also with black hardware, and we have that same orange stitching. The reason I'm surprised to see this one is normally the Kia shell cordovan is very tough for us to get. We don't see very much of it, and that's because it's not ordered too much at the tannery. In fact, I don't think I've seen other places than ourselves use this leather. So we're very lucky to be able to pick some up when Horween decides to make it. All right, let's look at some shell cordovan baseballs. And I do have 6 wallets left to look at after these baseballs. The first one here is a skip finish shell on that baseball, and we've got skip finish for both of the panels. And this look seems to be a hit. We get questions and comments about this particular finish that Skip has done just about every day. So I'm asking Skip to make this one again because we're out of it and I really like it too. Here's another shell cordovan baseball. We've got Western black shell cordovan with a Horween ink stamp on the reverse side of what looks like some natural shell cordovan. Here's another two-tone baseball. We have color number 4 shell cordovan with a reverse shell cordovan, that Horween ink stamp, and then some tan stitching. Here's another one just like that last one, color 4 shell with reverse, but this one has black stitching. Here's another fun two-tone. We got violet shell cordovan with reverse violet shell cordovan and then purple thread. This baseball has Western cigar shell cordovan with whiskey shell cordovan and then sort of this greenish forest green stitching. And I was saving my favorite for last. The last one here is psychedelic shell cordovan. So if you look closely at this, you can see a bunch of different colors in this leather. So it ranges from a purple to like a little bit of a lighter purple to a pink to a green and then to an orangey tan. And I've got 6 more wallets to show you for this private stock event. So much great stuff in the video today. This next one up, I'm calling it the 666 because I found a piece of shell, cigar shell cordovan with 666 stamped into it. I thought it'd be perfect for Halloween. So we've got the cigar shell with 666 on top of amaretto shell on the outside. On the inside, we have Western cigar shell cordovan and then reverse Western cigar shell cordovan and a black spring bar money clip. One more capone to look at. This is epic natural shell cordovan. You can see all that incredible figuring on the epic natural shell. Here's a look at the inside where we have more natural shell cordovan. And check this one out. I've got a passport holder here with a brand in it. So this says 013 on the outside of this tumbled natural shell cordovan passport holder. Here's a look at the inside where we have more tumbled natural shell cordovan. And I love this one here. This is marbled black shell cordovan, and I was mentioning larger pattern pieces are great for things like the passport holder and the long wallet, where we get to see this incredible context. The larger pattern piece lets us show off more of the look of the texture and different color range in this piece of leather. So marbled black shell cordovan on the outside as well as marbled black shell cordovan on the inside. 2 more wallets to look at. Next one up here, epic dye splatter on reverse color 8. Really cool look here, sort of Halloween themed, maybe shining theme for this one. But the only issue with this one is actually an irregular, so we're going to be discounting this. There's sort of a crack on the inside right here, which is unsightly, but it will not rip and shouldn't fall apart. This wallet also has a hand stained color 8 edge. And the last wallet of the day, another piece of epic natural shell cordovan. This is a Tony the Ant with that beautiful piece of shell on the outside. It's a little bit more subtle of the figuring on this epic natural shell. And this Tony the Ant is hand stitched. So you can see we have a hand stitched cream thread all the way through the outside of this wallet. And here's a look at the inside where we have 2 different pieces of Western shell cordovan. So we've got Western blue shell cordovan sitting on Western natural shell cordovan. And then in the center, of course, that Horween shell cordovan ink stamp. We like to cut that into visible spots on the wallet. So wow, thanks for checking out everything in the video. I'm losing my voice because there was so much stuff to talk about. I hope you enjoyed looking at everything with me today, including these shining wallets that we'll be putting up for auction. Hopefully this works out well. I've never done the auction thing before. I'm sort of uncertain how it will work, but this wallet right here is incredible. I really like how this one turned out. And then this one too. These are my 2 favorites. I really like the typewriter effect with the dull boy on the inside of this Tony the Ant. So thanks again for checking it out. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. And until next time, I hope you have a good one.